What is going on, San Antonio? It is game time, baby. Welcome to the Fantasy Gods. I'm your man, Brandon Big Poppy Medina. Welcome to the church, baby. We are talking all things fantasy football, daily fantasy betting, prop betting, your big bets. And at the end of the show, we will be announcing the locked in, can't miss parlay of the week for all of my bettors. Let's talk sits, starts, all the great stuff. People you should be taking a shot on, people you should be holding back on, all that great stuff. But I cannot go further without introducing the best producer in the game, my man Joe Garcia. How we doing, brother?
Doing good, man. Having a great Sunday.
Oh.
And you know what, man? We got some comments here. We already have our good friend Chris Leha, man.
My boy Chris Leha said, so we're just going to start the season full of injuries. That's how it seems, brother. That's how it seems.
Cooper Kupp, man.
Cooper Kupp. Mark Andrews is out. There's a lot of inactive players, which we'll go over, that could definitely help. And then we have Noah Bettis saying, it's time. That's right. It is time, sir. We are ready. The fantasy football season has kicked off officially. We have football that matters, people. Football that actually matters, right? We're not watching preseason football anymore, baby. This is real football.
Yeah.
You got college football. The vibes are great. The vibes are excellent. And so with that, we're going to be starting off with a lot of conversations. Now, let's go over inactives real quick. Mark Andrews, tight end, one of the best tight ends in the game, possibly tight end number 2 for fantasy, is inactive, right? He had an injury. He's not playing. Definitely look to pivot. We'll talk about pivots a little bit. We'll talk about what we saw in the Detroit game as well. We had Fantasy God's extra point come out on the week and Wednesday during the week. That will be happening moving forward. So don't worry. If you missed the show on Sunday, we're going to be talking about everything getting geared up for the week every Wednesday as well. So that'll be coming out on the Alamo City Podcast Network. Go follow the Alamo City Podcast Network on Twitter. Joe Garcia, let them know, baby. Where can you follow them on Twitter?
Yeah, on Twitter, you can go ahead and follow us at Alamo City Pod. And we're going to start getting a lot more active now coming up here on not only Facebook, with the Alamo City Podcast Network, but also on Twitter. And, of course, we're going to be having some shows added on. One of those is going to be the Two Shots podcast, which is my podcast that I talk San Antonio Spurs basketball about. Just recorded an episode over the weekend, so look for that to drop. And, of course, look at the extra point that you just finished doing earlier in the week.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it helped a lot of people, dude. I said Sam Laporta from Detroit was somebody you should be looking at for prop bets and for starts if you had Travis Kelce, which we knew was out. 72% route participation for him. Super solid. 19% targets. High-end tight end 2 with a tight end 1 upside. So Sam Laporta going to be a massive waiver wire add in week 2. We had Chris Gonzalez say, what's up, fellas? What's up, Chris? How we doing, brother?
Yeah, thanks for tuning
in, man. So with that, guys, it's time to start the show, baby. It's time to get into it. So I know everybody wants to know, who should I start? Who should I bench? Let's focus on who you should bench, because that's the most important part of fantasy football. Do not start the wrong people. So
without further ado, man.
Yes, without further ado.
Thou shalt bench.
Thou shalt bench, baby. This is one of our favorite segments. If you've been following since the radio days, this is one of the biggest segments that we always get asked about is, who should I bench? Number 1 on this list, everybody. Number 1, numero uno, Najee Harris. Listen, Najee Harris is going up against a absolutely tough defense. The 49ers and the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have a nasty-ass game. It's not going to be fun to watch. It's going to be really just a grind it out. They want to hurt each other. They have some of the best defensive players on both sides of the ball. Najee Harris is known for not being the most explosive running back, right? And so with that, there's also a potential that Jaylen Warren, the backup, could eat into those and have maybe some split carries in week 1. Listen, he's going to be the starter. You're not going to pivot from Najee if he's your number 1 dude. If he's your starter, then that's fine. If you have other people on your bench that maybe could come in and fill that spot, I would look elsewhere. But Najee Harris is somebody just for week 1 I would be looking elsewhere for. Another one, for the first time in history of this show, we got 2 brothers here, Joe.
Really?
James Cook and Dalvin Cook are 2 people I think you should also look to pivot from. Again, could they be flex plays? Sure. I'm just saying, if you have better options, however you drafted, I would look to move forward away from that. Why is that, Brandon? Let me tell you. The Jets defense allowed just 7 rushing scores all season, and only 2 running backs had more than 14.3 PPR points against them at home. It's going to be a tough game. while Dalvin Cook over there might be splitting time with Brees Hall. Brees Hall has said that he looks explosive. You're seeing sources saying he's running like 25 miles an hour. The dude's just absolutely stunning people. He is coming off of an injury. Dalvin Cook came off of an injury as well. I do think this is going to be a split backfield a little bit. I think Dalvin gets the edge, but I do know both of them are going against super tough defenses in their own right. The Buffalo Bills are super tough. I think both can possibly be flex plays if you have nobody else, but I'm saying you should really look at other wide receivers, other running backs, all that good stuff. Now, as we continue on, guys, if you have any questions about who you should start or who you should sit, put it in the chat. Let us know. We have a chat here. We're absolutely open to answering any questions, seeing how we can help you guys win your fantasy leagues. But overall, we're going to continue with the the sit segment of this show. There is a few more names that I think we should not be starting in your fantasy lineups, people. Another one. No Eagles running back. Just stay away from the Eagles. All right. The Eagles are no bueno for fantasy football. You don't know. Is it Rashad Penny? Is it Kenneth Gainwell? Is it DeAndre Swift? We don't know yet. And the Eagles are notorious for absolutely making you want to jump off of 35 over here because they are just so awful at letting us know who's the running back one. We got Chris Orozco saying, let's go, NFL kickoff. That's right, Chris. I hope you got your Barbacoa and Big Red in your system like I do. I hope you are ready to go have a drink or two or three or more. Make sure that you have your spot locked in. The fantasy guys are coming to you earlier than normal, right? 10:30 to 11:30 during the season. 11:30 is not a hard stop, but we're going to try to keep it in that area because we want you to have time to change your lineups, have time to go look and make your bets. So with that, again, no Eagles running back, man. Eagles. You're a Cowboys fan, Joe. You don't want to start any Eagle, period, right?
Man, pinche lechuzas cagadas, dude.
I'm telling you, dude.
I hate the Eagles, man.
No, violate the Eagles, especially the running back, man. The running backs, you don't know who's going to be starting. The other one, whether you're into Mashazis or not, Deshaun Watson should not be starting. Deshaun Watson is not going to be a starter. I do think the Bengals defense is going to be really solid. They allowed the third fewest fantasy points per pass attempt in 2022, including the sixth fewest passing points scored by quarterbacks on runs. Aaron Rodgers is another one I'm staying away from. Aaron Rodgers and Kenny Pickett are going to round out this list. Aaron Rodgers, slow your roll, people. Aaron Rodgers is great. I'm one of the very few fantasy football people out here that do believe in it. I do think he could be solid for fantasy football. This is not the game you want to start him against a very, very tough defense. And then Kenny Pickett, again, I just told you, the 49ers game is going to be nasty. It's going to be a grinded out game. I don't think you should expect as a player to really have any high expectations for any 49er, aside from Christian McCaffrey, or any player on the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think fantasy points will come, but it's going to be really two tough defenses. I don't see a ton of points getting put up on this game. So one I would definitely look at, but Kenny Pickett, the reason I chose him is someone you should sit, which most of you guys shouldn't be starting him, period. But The 49ers are fifth fewest points to throwers, and that included the eighth fewest points per pass attempt. So that's who you should be sitting, man. And I mean, that's one of the most important parts, Joe, right? You can't win a fantasy football game if you're playing the wrong dudes. Right.
That is the truth, man. You know what? All of them don't always have to be the elite stars, man. You win by quantity, man. Like, you just got to put up those numbers, you know?
You got to. And listen, we're going to talk about flex plays. We're going to have a segment called Say a Little Prayer coming up in a little bit. And all of those there's two differences that you need to absolutely look at in your fantasy football leagues. Do you want the consistent guy that 10 points, 11 points? What does it look like? ESPN, Sleeper, all those have projections, right? All those have projections to say Brandon Medina and Joe Garcia are going to score this many points. If you're down on points, definitely look to take a chance at somebody that can make a big boom or bust for you. If you want just to stay pat and win the league or win the game and be consistent, then maybe you play the safer option. But sometimes that safer option is not the best option.
Yeah.
So with that, we have a few questions in here too. We had Andrew Marks up there saying Christian Kirk or Michael Pittman Jr. for wide receiver 2. I'm 100% on Christian Kirk. I think Christian Kirk is super, super underrated. Calvin Ridley will be a great play too. I don't trust any Colts wide receivers until I see them live, and Michael Pittman has just burned me too many times, man. I'm telling you, good God. And then we also had another comment.
Hold on, man. We got a shout out here for Tex-Mex Frank.
Tex-Mex Frank, baby.
He says, Buenos dias, cabrones. He says, thanks for the show. I need a chingon season. Go Cowboys.
Eh,
Go. Puro pinche
Put
Cowboys
up
today,
picture
man.
Cowboys from Joe. Listen, I think we'll talk about the Cowboys a little bit later, but I know Chris Gonzalez said, so I should not start Kittle or Ayuk. I think you're fair starting either or, but if you have other options, I would definitely look, Chris. Kittle has been injured in the past. We'll see what he can do. Again, the Pittsburgh defense is really, really tough. I think Ayuk's the better play. But even then, it depends on what you have on your bench. If you got other players on your bench that you want to throw in the chat, we can help with that as well. So now that we did who you should bench, right? We did who you should bench. Let's talk about who you should start, baby. Let them know, Joe.
I'm looking for it, bro.
Hit him, baby. Hit him, baby.
I'm looking. It says, "Blessed is." Oh, here it is. I think.
Come on, doggy.
Blessed is he who starts.
There we go. I
There
found
it is. There it is, baby. There it is. These are your starts of the week, people, and these should come to no surprise. Actually, I do think this is going to be a fun time for starts.
Hey, there's a good question right here.
Oh, has Jose, my boy Jose said, "Do you think the Texans got a chance today?" I heard Jackson is out today. Listen, the Texans are an interesting bet today, right? And who knows? We have a can't miss parlay later on, right? The Texans are going to not be able to compete with Baltimore. However, I think the line is 9.5, which is a pretty big line. So we can talk about that a little later.
You think they cover the under?
I don't listen. Mark Andrews is out. Lamar Jackson could have his way with the Texans, but we also don't know what CJ Stroud's going to be, Damian Pierce, Nico Collins. But I do think that's going to be one that we talk about a lot, and that's going to be coming up here, and also in our prop bets when we talk about that. I see the Texans losing. I think I like the cover, but if I could tease it, which means that you put a little bit more money or you add a little bit, right, and take a little bit chances away. If you could get the Texans at +10, I think that's an interesting bet, especially for week one. Weird things happen week one. Last year, I took the Texans to win week one, and I believe they did, or whatever year it was when they were facing Trevor Lawrence. I remember they beat Trevor Lawrence, but that was a crazy one. So I like that one. Before we get to more questions, let's do our starts real quick, and then we'll get to all your questions. Keep it up. I love it. Michael Tani's in there saying, how about them Cowboys? This is our year. Of course, we saw the first one of many.
You, man.
The first one of many.
Little feature Cowboys today.
But
it's Cowboys Day, bro.
Let's talk about your starts of the week. Look at your fantasy rosters. If you have any of these guys, you need to get them in or figure out a way. Now, don't bench McCaffrey. Don't bench Jalen Hurts or anybody like that. But just look, if you have an option to pivot, maybe you should pivot. So, Jahan Dotson is my number one start of the week. I love Jahan Dotson. You got an injured McLaurin and an absolutely basura. Say it with me, Joseph. Give me a little basura. Basura Cardinals defense. They're not going to be able to stop a damn thing. They're going to be the worst team in the league. Jahan Dotson is a major component to this Washington Commanders team. You have Sam Howell in his first start. Jahan Dotson should be the guy, especially with McLaurin a little banged up. The other one, we talked about it, dude. We talked about it during the weeks leading up to the fantasy season. This is the 6th episode of the Fantasy Gods. Every episode since, I think I've mentioned this guy. Geno fucking Smith, baby. Geno Smith with the Seahawks. It might not sound pretty, but let me tell you this. He faced the Rams twice last year, and last season he had, in both games, 580 passing yards total, 54 rushing yards, and threw for 4 touchdowns. He is facing a absolutely awful passing defense. Geno Smith, every starter for the Seahawks, roll him on out there. I do think this is going to be a great fantasy game for your Seahawks players, as well as Cam Akers. Get Cam Akers out there. He's the only person with them, aside from Tyler Higbee, who we talked about a lot as a start of the week as well. The other one, hey, let's talk about Mr. Concussion a little bit. Tua Tagovailoa, baby. If you can find him a little late, if you have a quarterback that you didn't draft a good quarterback for fantasy, go ahead and look at Tua. This could be a big game. Listen,
oh man, I like this right here.
What are they? Oh God! Someone said Dak's a dark horse MVP. It's time to go to sleep. Michael Jimenez is asleep, and I think Andrew Marks needs to go to sleep.
Take away his phone, man.
Take away his phone. But Tua Tagovailoa, they have a 51-point over/under. They should be throwing the ball a ton with the Chargers. The Chargers, check this out, Joe, allowed the 3rd most yards of passes of 20+ yards last season. Miami's going to look deep. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert is also a start of the week. I love this game for fantasy. The Chargers and the Dolphins is going to be a must-watch.
You're going to talk about Chargers. You got to add Austin Eckler. Bro.
Austin Eckler's listen. If you drafted him, he's your guy, right? If you drafted him, you wasted a first-round pick on him, you're going to play Austin Eckler. I do think you should be playing basically any Charger and any Dolphin. This is a big, big game. 51 point over under, you don't see a lot. It's going to be a massive, massive offensive game. So I do
over
like that
under
one.
50, dude.
51 point over under. That's massive.
That's big.
That's big. So I like that one. Also, one that I like, again, listen, guys, this is just my starts of the week. Some people, we're allowed to be wrong. I guarantee we're going to hit a lot more than we're not. So Cortland Sutton, right? We talked about it. Cortland Sutton is a big one, guys. Jerry Jeudy, another banged up, injured wide receiver, possibly to miss several weeks. Russell Wilson sucked last year, but Joe, he has to throw to somebody, right? Cortland Sutton, I think, is a fine flex play. If you have him on your roster, if you can find him there, if you can fit him in and look for a piece. I prefer Cortland Sutton over Ayuk. I prefer Cortland Sutton over a lot of players. And then the last two that we have, guys, Jamal Williams for the Saints. He's going to be the clear number one guy until Alvin Kamara comes back. He led fantasy in rushing touchdowns, was awesome, was a fun play. I got him on Underdog Fantasy in a prop bet for, I think, like 8 fantasy points over under. And I was like, I'm banging that easy. So Jamal Williams, I love. And then I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan. Guys, you see this. We're playing the Buccaneers. Play every Buccaneer. The Vikings are not good at defense. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Rachaad White could all be absolutely great flex plays for you if you have them. Look to make sure you can incorporate them. If you do, I do think all of them will be very much fantasy relevant for your fantasy football teams. Now, let's check out the chat real quick. That was your starts of the week for Blessed is He Who Starts. Let's go. Great question here. Great question here from, I believe that's Caleb. Let's see that one real quick. Joe, Jahan over Keenan, Kirk, or Lockett? Wow. Goodness gracious. Okay, so Caleb, please reply in the comments if you're still on, man. So are you looking to play 2 of these or one of these guys? Because that's a great wide receiver core. I don't think I go Jahan over Keenan. I would definitely probably do Jahan over Kirk, and I think Jahan and Lockett are really, really tough. Man, I think Keenan Allen probably is your safest bet because of the matchup, because of the point total, because Justin Herbert needs to get the ball out to somebody. Mike Williams, of course, is there, but Keenan Allen is his number one guy. Jahan Dotson is going against an awful, awful defense. Tyler Lockett is going against an awful, awful defense. You know Tyler Lockett, Joe. Every year, week 1, he could go for 46 points or he could go for like 6. So, I mean, it depends on what. If you need a week winning play, Tyler Lockett or Jahan Dotson. If you're looking to save the week and just keep it consistent and know exactly what you're going to get, Keenan Allen. That'd be my answer. All righty. So what do we have? Any other questions up there? Chris Adosco says, I'm stuck with Najee Harris as my RB2. That's disgusting, brother. I think, listen, I get it. You're going to be fine later on in the year, brother. Don't worry about it. But right now, it's a little rough for you. Go down, Joe. Do we have any more down there or do we have any more up there?
Yeah,
let's see a little bit.
For now.
Okay, go up a little bit. Let's see. What else we have? Because we missed a few. Keep going. Let me see. A Kittle and Ingram in my tight end spot. Go down one more. I do like Ingram probably a little bit more than I like Kittle in this matchup. And then we have put Mims, Denver, or Jefferson on the roster. Ooh, Tex-Mex Frank, baby. He coming in with the heat. So Mims is a rookie. He's looking to slot in as the wide receiver 2 for Denver. He really has an opportunity to progress pretty quickly. And if Cortland Sutton sucks again, which I don't think he will, but if he does, look for Mims to be the guy in Denver as long as Jerry Jeudy's out. You have Jefferson there. Jefferson for the Rams. Van Jefferson is somebody I picked up in all my leagues. I definitely think he's probably the best pickup while Cooper Kupp is out, only because Cooper Kupp is on IR, unfortunately. I like Van Jefferson. We don't know if he's going to be, the best of the best, but I think the odds are I would go with him over Mims, but Mims is the younger one. Mims has more opportunity and a better quarterback.
Hey, man, shout out to everybody who got Daniel Jones, man, because the Cowboys are going to be playing the Giants later on.
They will. Yeah. We'll talk about that game, man. We're going to go through all those games, but that's going to be a fun one, man. We have a crazy question from my boy Michael Tani. He said, flex, Odell or Cooks? That's a rough flex right there, brother. But I will say, I think I like Brandon Cooks in this matchup. I think Brandon Cooks could really be solid against the Giants. Odell, we just don't know, bro. I don't like to talk about players that I don't know about, man. It's going to be a tough one. It really is. It's going to be a really, really interesting opportunity for Brandon Cooks to jump out the gate with the Cowboys and hopefully make some Cowboy fans happy later on, brother.
Definitely, man. But, I'm looking forward to the Cowboys just beating the Giants. I think it's going to be a lot closer game than people think, man.
Yeah. And you know what? Before we get into it, we're going to get into a little bit of our betting talk a little bit for sure. And before we do that, we'll do our say a little prayer, which is going to be all about the players who you should take a chance on, who could be week winning. Maybe don't force them to start, but if you have to start them, we're going to go ahead and say a little prayer for a player like
this.
It's
time for the fantasy gods to say a little prayer.
Here are 3 players that I like, and one of them is going to be absolutely disgusting. The other 2 is going to be pretty solid. And we talked about Houston and the Ravens, right? I think Jose had mentioned Houston over the Ravens. Here's the thing. Mark Andrews is out, right? Isaiah Likely, their backup tight end, is a freak athletic play, is super solid. I am playing Isaiah Likely in one league, and I'm picking him in a lot of daily fantasy leagues. If you do DraftKings or FanDuel, he is the cheapest option. I'm talking about you have like Tyler Higbee at $4,800. Isaiah Likely is like $3,000, like super cheap for your daily fantasy plays. I love Isaiah Likely. I'm saying a little prayer for Isaiah Likely because he could be a week winning tight end and could have a top 10, top 5 tight end day against Houston today, given the right opportunity. So I love Isaiah Likely as a play. The other one, it's going to be a nasty one. All right. It's a nasty one. I apologize. Deion Jackson over there at the Colts, who's going to be filling in for Jonathan Taylor. The running back you want is, of course, the quarterback Richardson, right? Anthony Richardson's going to be awesome, but Deion Jackson is going to get a bulk of the carries because guess what, people? You're here for news. You're here for hot takes. We just found out that Zach Moss will be out of this game, and so that's going to be a huge added addition for Deion Jackson. I do think he's going to be able to get more carries, more movement happening because of that. So with that, I do like him now. There's also discussions, people. Listen, this just came out. There's discussions. Adam Schefter put it out a few hours ago. The Colts are looking to possibly send Jonathan Taylor to the Packers for Christian Watson. So with that, Deion Jackson has an opportunity to be the guy in Indianapolis. If you can snag him somewhere, I do think that'd be a great play. Don't force it, people. Please don't force it. But it could be somebody that maybe you want to look at this week. And then finally, again, Houston Ravens matchup, man. Houston Ravens matchup has some interesting opportunities here. Zay Flowers. You remember, Joe, I said he's one of my favorite potential breakouts. The dude is fast. He looked incredible during preseason. Preseason is preseason, right? So I don't want to overreact to it, but I do think you have an aging Odell Beckham, right? You have Rashad Bateman, who is always hurt. Zay Flowers has an opportunity as a rookie out the gate to have a massive, massive impact. If you have an opportunity to play him in daily fantasy with DraftKings or FanDuel, or if you need a flex position, a flex spot, and you don't know who to do, I'm lighting my candles. I'm saying my prayers. I'm wearing the rosaries. I'm doing everything, baby. Zay Flowers is a pick that I really, really enjoy. Let's answer a few more questions over here. We have Andrew Marks. I have Jones and Dylan in multiple leagues. Please don't do that, Colts. Listen, Jonathan Taylor is going to be moving on the move somewhere, I think. And if not, he's going to have to stick with a Colts back for that maybe he's not super happy with. Let's see what else we have. We have my boy Pre Delgado. He said Sutton or Miles Sanders in the flex spot against the birthday boy of mine. Wow, he's facing his birthday boy. Who's our commissioner? A big shout out to my boy Josh Vasquez, my cousin. I love him, brother. Happy birthday. But Pre is going against him in our league, I believe. And he said Sutton or Miles Sanders. Again, we talk about this in fantasy, and Pre, you know all this too well, man. You're very good at it. What do you need, right? Do you need to win the week? Are you playing from behind? Are the projections saying you're playing from behind? If you are, I do like Cortland Sutton. If you're looking to just stay consistent with the week and play the week as is, and maybe you're favored by a few points, I think Miles Sanders gives you a better flex opportunity, a safer floor. Cortland Sutton gives you a massive ceiling. So personally, I would go with Cortland Sutton because of the injuries, but Miles Sanders is also a very good running back. He just unfortunately plays for a very bad team. But that conversation we'll be talking about when we come to that betting news. So listen, brother, let's run through just kind of the lines real quick, man. I don't know if you can pull up just kind of the lines of the games. I have them here too, so if not, no worries. But I know we have the Texans and Ravens kicking off at noon. We're an hour away, Joe. An hour away from football. Hour away. And so looking at kind of the betting lines as it is right now, the Texans plus 9.5 against the Ravens. Joe, that's a lot of points, man. 10 points to a professional team. The Texans are bad, right? But the Texans, are they that bad, right? Do we know? Do we have an idea of who the Texans are right now? We have a rookie quarterback. We have, some opportunities that could come into play here. I do know the Ravens will win this game. I don't know if the Ravens cover that game. So he's showing you some lines here on the screen, as you can see. I don't know if we can make that bigger for me, Joe, but if not, no problem. We have Carolina and the Panthers. There we go. That's fine. Look at this. So we have Green Bay and Chicago. +1 for Green Bay, -1 for Chicago, a pick'em game. Who do you like in that one, Joe? Chicago, Green Bay.
Oh, man. This one's a tough one for me, but I'm going to have to go with Green Bay, man. I like Green Bay a little bit more than I do Chicago.
Yeah, no, I completely understand it. We don't know what we have with Jordan Love. Exactly. We know what we have with Justin Fields. I'm going to take Chicago in this one only because it is at Soldier Field in Chicago. Christian Watson is out for Green Bay. I do think the Chicago Bears could win this one as well. And then let's see who else we have. Las Vegas Raiders, Denver Broncos, +3.5 for the Raiders. I think that's fair. The Broncos did suck last year. The Raiders are going to be rolling out Jimmy Garoppolo. He's probably screwing every porn star in the vicinity in Las Vegas. Devontae Adams, of course, is going to be your play. Philadelphia Eagles, Patriots. This is an interesting one, dude. I will not be surprised. I'm just saying this out loud. I'm not picking the Patriots to win.
Yeah.
I will not be surprised if the Patriots battle it out against the Eagles. That's a hot take. Sorry about it. Miami, Los Angeles, +3, -3, Chargers. I think the Dolphins could also cover that one. I kind of like the Dolphins in that matchup. And then the Rams and Seahawks, take the Seahawks. Don't even look the way of the Rams. Listen, my boy OC, I know is watching. I love OC. I love you, brother. Your Rams are just really not going to get this done. It could happen, but I think the Seahawks, like I just said, the starts of the week for me were basically every Seahawks player available. I'm not going to go back on it. And then those pinche Cowboys against the Rams. Who are you taking, Joe? I'm sorry, against the Giants. Who are you taking, Joe? Just by chance.
You know who I'm taking, dude. It's pinche Cowboy, right or die.
It's Cowboy season.
And you all better hope the Cowboys don't win because, we're going to be talking shit all week, dude.
I will say this. I think it's a close game. I do think so because they're always close, regardless of who's good.
I think it's by a field goal.
And you know what's crazy? Dallas Cowboys are favored by 3.5 points. If it's by a field goal, like Joe said, you might want to look at taking the Giants +3.5 because that means if they win by a field goal, the Cowboys will not cover that line. They have to win by 4 points or more. The money line is -165. I do think that's going to be a very, very interesting game to look at and something that we might talk about later in the can't miss parlay of the week, baby. But right now we have 30 more minutes with you guys. Kickoff is just in an hour. We are very, very much excited for it. So let's talk about some of our daily fantasy plays. What do you got, Joe?
Oh, nothing, man. I was going to say you got to talk about the Tennessee Titans and the New Orleans Saints. Look at that betting line.
So this is one I skipped it on purpose because listen, just a hint. The Saints will be in the locked in can't miss parlay of the week.
Really?
I talked about, someone asked me my favorite defense last week. Do you remember that? Someone's like, who's your favorite defense for fantasy? I love the Saints. I love the matchup. Chris Olave is going to eat it up like crazy. I think Jamal Williams looks good. If you can stop just the run, which is hard, right? Derrick Henry's a monster.
Yeah.
If you can slow it down, I do think the Saints can get this done. I love Derek Carr. I think this is a great game to bet on. But with that, the Saints right now, -3, Tennessee Titans +3. If you're looking at the Cowboys game, I like the Cowboys money line. I also like the Giants to cover that line.
What about your Vikings? You're wearing the Vikings gear,
listen, dude, I don't ever touch my Vikings, right? That's my one rule is I don't touch my Vikings. I did bet on them a little bit, but normally I won't put a lot of money on them. They're -4, I believe, right? Or -5. Oh, -5 now. Wow. Okay, so
Tampa
so you have a few different, right? Caesar Sportsbook has them at -5. You have -4 other ways across. I do think the Vikings win. I'm a lot more happy betting the money line, which is not great. You can find it in a parlay. It's -210, but the line is just a little tight, and that's saying something. The Buccaneers are not good, and I'm still like, I don't trust this Minnesota defense to keep it that far apart. So I'm taking the money line on that one for sure. But I think the Vikings get the win, and if they don't, hey, come meet me at 3:00 on the 410 bridge. I'll be jumping off. Anyways,
I know nobody has Baker on their freaking fantasy roster.
And if you do, tune in out of the show. But if you have Baker Mayfield starting in your fantasy roster, go ahead and tune off for me. Go grab yourself a barbacoa and a Big Red and have yourself,
call it a day.
Call it a day, baby. You're done. You're done for the day. All righty, let's talk about daily fantasy. This is for all my players who do DraftKings, FanDuel, any of that stuff where you're kind of picking players and you have a numerical opportunity, right? You have a number of money, fictional money that you can play with. Here is what my DraftKings lineup looks like right now. I like it. You might not, and that's cool. That's part of fantasy football. So when it comes to my lineup and the $5 $1 million whatever kickoff for the NFL, I have Geno Smith, Cam Akers, who I said is going to be somebody I like for the Rams, Rachaad White for Tampa Bay because Minnesota has awful defense. I love him as a running back. Jahan Dotson, Chris Olave, Cortland Sutton. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. All these guys you just mentioned. And then Tyler Higbee and Keenan Allen is somebody I have as well in that lineup. I like that one. And then the other one I'm doing, which is one that I think will be winning some money. This is one I think you should tune into. Geno Smith on DraftKings is only $6,100, guys. Let me tell you who's up there with him. He's right in front of Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson. He's behind Kirk Cousins, behind Trevor Lawrence. Geno Smith has a great opportunity here. Cam Akers, and guess what? I'm booking it. Bijan Robinson will have a massive week, and he's in my lineup here. Bijan Robinson, his backup is out of the game. Cordero Patterson will not be playing. Bijan Robinson, fully ready to play. I do think he's going to be a great addition to any team, and you took him with your first pick, you should be playing it. So, Jahan Dotson, Chris Olave, Cortland Sutton again. This one I have Isaiah Likely, who I mentioned. Mark Andrews is out. That tight end is going to be needed, and I have Calvin Ridley and the Saints. Again, this is my favorite lineup on DFS right now. Geno Smith, Cam Akers, Bijan Robinson, Jahan Dotson, Chris Olave, Cortland Sutton, Isaiah Likely, Calvin Ridley, and the Saints defense. That's going to be a winner. Book it, people. I love that one. So those are my daily fantasy plays. Let's talk a little bit about prop bets. If you're looking to do prop bets, I will post a link to join Underdog Fantasy, my favorite place to do it, as well as Prize Picks. So on Underdog Fantasy specifically, there's some great stuff going on, man. So looking at Underdog Fantasy, some of the few that I like, I love the over-under they have for Nick Chubb. It's a tough one, but I'm going to go with the over. They have 76 rushing yards for Nick Chubb, over-under. He's dominant, man. His last 3 games, 77, 104, 92. I'm taking the over for Nick Chubb. I do enjoy that. Joe, are you a betting man, brother? Are you going to be putting in some bets today, baby, or what are we going to do? Because if not, I got to make you one.
I don't know, man. I might, depending on what you got.
Yeah, I like that. And then you have right now, it looks like they might have caught up a little bit on some of these. I put some last minute bets in yesterday, but Jahan Dotson right now on Underdog Fantasy still says only 8.25 fantasy points. If he scores a touchdown and has 2 catches, the dude's going to be breaking that easily. Jahan Dotson, book that one. I love that one. There's also 3.5 receptions. His past 4 games, 7 targets, 2 targets, 4 targets, 4 targets. I think he breaks that receptions total as well. So I like that one. I do think that's going to be a really, really fun play for any prop bettors out there. You can also join in, man. Right now they're doing special plays. I got Saquon Barkley for like higher than 0.5 total yards. Like 100% take that. The other one I like, I had Dameon Pierce in mind about that Houston game. The line has changed quite a bit. So listen to this, dude. I got Dameon Pierce early, right? For only 44.5 rushing yards, like nothing. Now he's boosted to 56.5 rushing yards. Get your plays in early. Don't wait till Sunday because you start seeing stuff like that. It can be one that changes the game. Joe Burrow is somebody I love today, and not for the best reasons, right? Joe Burrow, I'm not taking any overs or anything like that. I do think maybe he can show you some flashes. I'm taking under 269.5 passing yards. That's a lot of passing yards. One.
It is.
And Cincinnati and Cleveland, always a good rivalry, always a tough game. I expect Cleveland to come out and play a little harder. It is week 1. We can see some mistakes, whatever the case. I got him at 265.5. You're getting a way better value. So take Joe Burrow. I love that bet. And then last but not least, one that I love. I mean, love, dude. This is one of my favorite bets. Let's see if it's still available on Underdog Fantasy, is Nico Collins. So Nico Collins for Houston, I got him at 3 receptions over under. Right now, it's at 3.5 receptions over under. Basically the same thing. To beat my over under, he has to get 4. to beat 3.5, he has to get 4.
Yeah.
I do think he gets that number because there's nobody else to pass to. So I like that one, taking chances on some prop bets there. But if you're looking at, my boy Joe, let me look at the Cowboys real quick, right? The Cowboys-Giants game, because I know Joe, and Joe's not betting on anything else but his puro pinche Cowboys right now. What do we got on the stream, brothers? Anybody say anything about the Cowboys? It looks like Andrew Mark says Dak owns the NFC East in division games. Check his record. I like it. My boy Andrew Marks is also a diehard Cowboys fan. No surprise.
Cowboys by a touchdown. And then Caleb Ramirez also says Cowboys win, but Giants cover 100%.
See, I like that, man. I like that. So right now, there's a few good ones here that are pretty interesting. I like for the Dallas Cowboys. You think Tony Pollard gets more than 3 receptions? I like that one. That's interesting. Dak Prescott, 1.5 passing touchdowns. Does he throw 2 touchdowns today?
I think he might.
I think that's what I like. You know what I mean? There's also over under 0.5 interceptions. Does he throw an interception? And that also is very much in play.
I think that very much could be in play. He probably is good at least for 1 or 2.
That's also very much in play. And then you got Brandon Cooks, 44.5 receiving yards. I like that. He could get at least 2 big bombs. It's a big one. Jake Ferguson, 4.75 fantasy points for the Dallas Cowboys, the tight end. Dallas loves their tight ends. An opportunity to look at. And then over there on the New York Giants side, Saquon Barkley, over under 0.5 rushing or receiving touchdowns. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So he can do either or. 0.5, just get 1. I do like that. That's a great one. And then you have just nastiness. You have Isaiah Hodgins, Darius Slayton, Paris Campbell. Stay away from those guys. Just move along. Don't worry about those guys. But those are going to be some of my daily fantasy plays that I love. Now, if you don't mind, sir, can we talk a little bit about my big bets? Let's talk about passing the collection plate.
Pass the collection plate.
Gentlemen, it is fantasy football season. We are here, and it is time to make big bets. I am your favorite degenerate, right? I am your Theo Gambler over here, right? I want to make sure I'm the drunk Theo telling you there's no way this doesn't hit today, right? And sometimes it doesn't hit. But guess what? Next week, I'm coming back telling you there's no way it doesn't hit today. It's a new day. It's a bright day. Your boy won a few college bets. I lost a few college bets. Today's another beautiful day to bet again. So this segment, Past the Collection Play, is all about our favorite bets when it comes to just straight bets, not prop bets, just normal bets. Here's what I have for you. So I like the Jacksonville Jaguars over the Indianapolis Colts. It is a safe play to me. The money line, as it stands right now, is not the prettiest, but it's minus 195. It's lower than when I got it. They are favored by 3.5 points. I do think Jacksonville covers that. I do think they win by more than 3.5. I would take the money line just to be safe, or tease that down to just straight -3. I like Jacksonville again to beat the Indianapolis Colts. I have the San Francisco 49ers. It's a wild bet. I'm getting a little crazy, baby. Against the Steelers, they're more talented to me. They have a great defense too. I do think the San Francisco 49ers get it done. Right now, this is a huge bet. If you have a parlay you're cooking up, don't do it yet, because I'm going to give you my favorite one. But if you have one cooking up, the 49ers are only minus 130. What does that mean, Brandon? If you don't know money lines, you don't know betting, let me help you a little bit. Everything is based on a $100 bet, right? So minus 130 means $100 would get you $76 back. That's a great come up for any bet. However, they are only favored by 2 points. Do you think if the 49ers win, Joe, do they win by at least a field goal? That's the question you got to ask yourself.
By a field goal?
At least by 3 points. That's all.
If the 49ers win, I could see that happening, man.
So $100 then gets you $95, basically a double up, right? You start adding that into a parlay, you get a little crazy. So say you take the 49ers -2, and then the one that I just mentioned right now, the Jacksonville Jaguars, -3.5. I'm going to tease that down, everybody, to just -3. They win by a field goal.
Yeah.
Right? Jacksonville by 3, 49ers by 2 or more, right? So by a field goal each. If you parlay that bet and you put $100, you're bringing home total $334 on just those 2 bets.
Yeah, that's
right?
a good day of drinking.
Come on, baby. We're cooking them up over here. We're cooking them up. The other ones that I like in these matchups right now, I like my Vikings. I'm not touching my Vikings because I get nervous, right? I don't like to bet against my team. So here's what we're going to do, people. Here is, we got to get a drop for this soon. I'll do it or something. But here is your locked in, must play, can't miss parlay of the day. Your boy was in the lab. I'm mixing sugar and sweet and everything nice. I'm figuring it out. I'm looking at matchups. I'm looking at what we can do. Here's what I came up with. Only one is going to be a crazy one. Here's what I did, peeps. I am taking the Atlanta Falcons to beat the Carolina Panthers. Why is that, Brandon? Because since 2003, Joe, right?
Damn.
Long time ago, QBs drafted number 1 overall, which we have in Carolina, right? Bryce Young, are 0-13-1 straight up. Just money line, right? They are 1-13 against the spread. The spread right now is -3.5. I like to tease that down to -3 instead. But 1-13 against the spread in their first start. The last number 1 pick to win their first start was David Carr in 2002.
Jeez,
that's the last number 1 pick to win. So that is a must for me. I'm taking the money line to be safe. If you trust the Falcons can get it done, which guess what? Bijan is full steam ahead. No backup.
Speaking of Bijan, look at this. Comment.
Oh, we got a great name. Oh, Pre says Bed Bath and Bijan, baby. I love it. Great name. But Bijan Robinson is a full go. Kyle Pitts, love him, hate him. He's a full go. Drake London, full go. Desmond Ritter's going to start. We'll see what the Falcons look like, but overall on paper, they are more talented. I'm taking the money line for the Falcons, right? And then the other one that I love here, we talked about a little bit, the Saints against the Titans. The Saints, to me, Chris Olave, Jamal Williams, Michael Thomas, whether he's washed or not, is still a good wide receiver. Jawan Johnson, Derek Carr, all those guys I prefer over an aging DeAndre Hopkins, over an aging but still very, very good Derrick Henry, and Ryan Tannehill, who I don't care for much at all. So the Titan defense is normally pretty good. The Saints defense is always pretty good. So I do like the Saints to win it. That line, -2.5, win by a field goal. I like that as well. I'm taking the money line again to play it safe. That's -150. So right now we have the Saints money line, right? We also have the Falcons money line. All righty. So we're ready to go. We're almost there. Here's the last piece that we need to add. The last beautiful piece. My favorite one, because I've been talking about it and people hating all the time, including my producer, Joe Garcia. He hates when I talk about him. He doesn't believe. This will make him believe. Throw in Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks into this can't miss parlay. They are favored by 4 points, right? It is a 210 money line. So the money line is not going to give you a lot of money. -210, you got to bet basically $210 to get back 100. So what we're going to do is, instead of taking them at -4, we're going to tease that down to -3 to win by a field goal. That's it. Get ready, people. If you bet $100, $320 you win plus your $100 back. That is $420 on this parlay. If you don't want to bet $100, Brandon, come on. What are you talking about, brother? I can't be betting all that. I have kids and diapers to buy. I get it. I'm a dad. $25 gets you $105 total. Go check it out. Bovada, BetUS. Jump on those. The Saints, money line. The Seattle Seahawks, -3. And the Falcons, money line. Take it. The can't miss, locked in parlay of the week. If it misses, don't talk to me. I'm not going to be talking back, but I don't think it will be missing. I love it. I'm locking it in. It is locked in on my Bovada account. I will share that with you guys. I took it. I am ready to roll. With that, we have a few more questions before we get out of here. We had Caleb Ramirez saying, I'm going with DK right now with the Chargers and Seahawks stack. I love it. DK Metcalf is going to be huge. Tyler Lockett is going to be huge. What games on the slate today, Joe, are you most excited for as a fan and as a fantasy football player?
Probably the Cowboys game is always one that I get up for, of course, you know. But the other ones that I'm going to be kind of watching, I like the Tennessee game, man.
That's going to be a fun one, dude.
That's going to be a fun game to watch for me. I like that one. And I'm also interested in seeing the Texans in the Baltimore game.
Yeah.
I just want to see what the Texans can do.
CJ, I want to see what he looks like. What is he doing, right? What's going on here? And the Ravens, Isaiah Likely's going to be fun. We talk about that one a lot. I think the the most competitive game on the 12 o'clock slate that I think is going to be absolutely a just mouth-watering fun time is going to be Cincinnati and Cleveland. However, I do think the most competitive as far as maybe not a lot of fantasy points, but just a rough game to score in is going to be the 49ers and the Steelers.
That one's an interesting one to me as well because
there's both history. There's history. There's so much.
Both teams have a great defense.
Yes.
You know, so it's going to be a low-scoring affair, but I want to see what the 49ers are capable of because we don't really know what's going to happen with that quarterback position. You know, is their QB1 going to be able to live up to the billing? You know, we're going to see.
I love it. Also, Tex-Mex Frank says, great show. Can I get a shout out to John Mitchell, my fantasy football league, who named his team CD's Nuts? And guess what, John? I don't know if you can see, I have the exact same name on my fantasy football team, CD's Nuts, because I have CD Lamb. I drafted him only in one league, and I had to go with it. Great fantasy name, man. I love it. Another game I want to talk about a little bit is in the 3 o'clock game. That Miami Dolphins and Los Angeles Chargers game is going to be super, super relevant for fantasy football, relevant for your bets. The other bets we can look at a little bit if you're looking to continue to gamble. Maybe you didn't get enough, right? Maybe you're still excited about looking at what's ahead. What I think you can look at and look forward to, we talked about a little bit. Green Bay and Chicago is a pick'em game, man.
Yeah,
that's a crazy one. I like Chicago to win that game, so I would take -1 for Chicago to beat Green Bay only because Justin Fields is electric. He started picking up the pace. Khalil Herbert's a fine running back, and then DJ Moore added into that offense could be great. Both defenses have struggled. The Packers have a way better defense. I'm not personally taking this game, but if I was, Chicago be my pick. The other game that I like looking at is, again, that Philadelphia New England Patriots game. Am I crazy for saying the Patriots could possibly upset the Eagles game 1 of the new season? The Eagles who were just in a Super Bowl. Does that sound ludicrous?
Doesn't sound ludicrous, man. A lot of my friends too have picked the Patriots over the Eagles in week 1.
I mean, I don't know, guys. Listen, my thing is the money line is +155. That's crazy value, but the spread is just +3.5. What are you gonna? I mean, if they lose, they can lose by a field goal and still hit. The bet's still gonna hit. So it's a safe bet, I think, in that retrospect. And then the Dallas Cowboys, baby. You think they win by more than a field goal? The line just changed from 3.5 to straight up -3. So as long as they win by a field goal, they win your bet.
I was just telling you, man. I think they're starting to realize it could be a low-scoring affair, and it comes down to that field goal. But I'm telling you, the one game that really interests me out of the whole week 1 is the Bills and the Jets on Monday.
It's gonna be a wild one. Yeah. I think the Bills win that game, of course. But the line right now is an interesting line as far as that game goes because the Buffalo Bills are only favored by -2.5 a field goal. And to me, way more of an explosive offense.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the Jets look like with the Aaron Rodgers. You know,
I'm not touching it only because if the NFL was scripted, you're gonna want Rodgers to take.
Of course you are, but I want to see what he looks like as far as him being the QB1 leading that Jets team.
Man, well, we'll see. I mean, listen, if you don't want to take the Patriots because you're nervous and you're like, hey, there's no way they beat the Eagles. That's crazy, Brandon. You're nuts. Here's what I'm saying. Dallas Cowboys -3, Patriots +3.5, and Chicago Bears -1. All of those, if you put $25, you're getting $165 back just on $25. Now, if you take out that Patriots one, and we're saying, you think the Buffalo Bills win Monday night?
I don't know, man. I kind of feel like Rodgers is going to wind up working some magic, man.
Oh, boy. Man.
If you leave, I think it's going to come down to whoever has the ball in their hands on the last play. And if it comes down to Rodgers having the ball in his hands with maybe seconds left on the clock, he can get it done.
Maybe. So, real quick, let's look at Joe Garcia's bets a little bit, right? Yeah. So Dallas Cowboys -3. You like the Jets to get it done against the Buffalo Bills.
You do.
Right? Any other game? Do you want to roll with your Green Bay Packers pick against Chicago, or is there?
I want to roll with that. I still think Green Bay.
They want to win.
I think Green Bay is going to best the Bears.
So here's Joe, guys. This is big money right here. Joe Garcia, Dallas Cowboys -3, Green Bay Packers money line -105, and the New York Jets money line +120 for Joe Garcia. $25 wins you just about $200. For $25, Go have yourself a day. Buy all the Modelo and Barbacoa and Big Red you can buy.
That's a night out with the boys, man. I wouldn't tell the wife if I want 200.
$25 for basically almost $200, about $195-ish or so. So great stuff there. I'm excited. Last minute fantasy football plays, guys. Make sure you are checking your schedules. Like I said, if you have anybody in that Jets and Bills game, make sure that you are looking at injury reports. Make sure you are looking at who you can put in those spots. I had told you guys on Thursday for Thursday night games, if you didn't hear the extra point on Thursday night games, please do not put those players that are playing on Thursday night in your flex, because then what happens, you're locked into your flex by Thursday. And if something happens injury wise to any of your running backs or wide receivers or tight ends, you have no way to maneuver stuff in your roster. So make sure on Thursday night football, you are always putting those players that are playing in your starting spots and not your flex. Right now, Sunday is here. Football is here. We are so damn excited. You can find me. I'll be drinking out with the cousins over there at McIntyre's. We'll be having a fun time. I'll be watching my Minnesota Vikings. If they lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, next week's going to be a really tough show for me to come in excited, guys. But I don't think we do.
I don't think you're going to be coming in next week wearing your Vikings gear. That happens.
Start Justin Jefferson. Start all of that. Is there any players that you think are going to be ones to watch, Joe, for like this new season? Some players that are maybe in some new areas, some new places. I think Garrett Wilson is going to be incredible for the New York Jets in his second year, not getting Rodgers. Romeo Doubs is the only guy for Green Bay. Christian Watson is out. Make sure you're changing that lineup. But anybody that you can think of, are you excited for Brandon Cooks and your Dallas Cowboys?
I am, man. I want to see what he can do.
Also, Tony Pollard. This is your first look. Is he the
100%
guy?
100% healthy.
100% healthy. And 100% the guy. Can Tony Pollard get it done? Also, don't let your Cowboys fandom skew you. Leave Zeke Elliott on your bench. Don't get crazy.
Man. That's the thing. Zeke is over there with the Patriots.
Yes.
He's with the Patriots.
Hey, that's what I'm saying, baby. Hey, don't sleep. Don't sleep on the Patriots. I'm just saying, don't sleep over there. But definitely go look at tight ends. Go look at who you can play. I love Jawan Johnson for tight ends with the Saints against Tennessee. Gerald Everett against Miami with the Chargers. Those are all in play, I think. And then if you have anybody, a Pat Freiermuth, who I have a lot of options in my fantasy leagues with, I'm even looking to possibly pivot only because that game, I just don't know if there's going to be a lot of fantasy points in that San Francisco-Pittsburgh game, only because how just stout those defenses are. Somebody's going to emerge. I just don't know who. I can't tell you it's going to be the Debos or the Ayuks or the Deontay Johnsons or the Pickens or whoever. I do know Christian McCaffrey has the best odds, and Najee is somebody I'm not playing if I don't have to because of how great that defense is. So with that,
you know what we didn't talk about?
We
hadn't talked about what I think is arguably going to be one of the worst games in week one.
Okay.
Cardinals Commanders.
It's going to be disgusting.
It's awful.
Awful. The Cardinals, listen, I have no respect for that organization at all. The Cardinals have just ruined that organization overall. I mean, right now, as it stands, they are just disgustingly offensively, just there's nothing. If you have James Conner, start James Conner because he's the only guy there. Hollywood Brown's banged up a little bit. He is going to start. They're just not exciting, man. I mean, you have Washington should run away with this. Now it is a -7. That's a lot. That's a touchdown. I still think they cover it because of how awful the Cardinals are.
Yeah.
The Commanders, man, I said Jahan Dotson's my number one play of the week. I love him. I think he's going to be great. The Cardinals are just embarrassing, man. They just really are not going to be a fun squad. If you're a Cardinals fan, maybe just chill. Maybe just wait for basketball season and cheer on Phoenix or something. Joshua Dobbs is going to be the starter. Go look up Joshua Dobbs, people. He looks like the most generic makeup player in Madden of all time. He's not going to be good. Josh Dobbs, Jeff Driscoll, Clayton Tune, those are their quarterbacks. If those guys walk past you right now while you're listening to the show, you would have no idea that they're there. So James Conner is somebody I would play. Hollywood Brown, I would wait a little bit, but definitely all the Commanders. I think, my boy Brian Robinson, when you come back from a gunshot and you come back from getting shot and can still play in the league, I'm never going to not say play him. Brian Robinson needs to start. I even think Antonio Gibson's a great flex play. And then Sam Howell is somebody in DFS. If you can go check him out, Sam Howell for the Washington Commanders, who's going to be starting, had an incredible preseason. He's not going to be nervous about this upcoming game because he's playing the worst defense in the league. But Sam Howell's somebody I would definitely look at, man, in DFS. He's somebody that you can get an opportunity to play if you're playing him right. When it comes to DFS, daily fantasy plays, Sam Howell is so far down the line, dude. I mean, he is like way below where he should be in DFS. So I do think you should go look at Sam Howell. That game's kicking off at 12. Check that out. Again, Texans, Ravens at 12. Panthers, Falcons at 12. Bengals, Browns, 49ers, Steelers, Cardinals, Commanders, Jaguars, Colts, Titans, Saints, and my Vikings and the Buccaneers. All of them going to be a fun time. We have one last question. Noah Pettis said, Stevenson or Madison, non-PPR league? Whoa. Noah, how you going to let me in on a question like this, bro? That's a tough one. Both of those guys are PPR machines. I'm going to go ahead and say Madison only because non-PPR, no points per reception. Zeke Elliott is going to eat up probably the goal line, I assume. The power runners, the power running plays, I think Madison's kind of the clear-cut guy. We might see with Ty Chandler, but I think Madison would be my play for that one. But with that, man, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you if you've been with us. Give us a shout-out. Let us know on the stream, where are you watching from? Give us what city you're in. Give us where you're going to be watching tonight, what bar, what are you drinking, all that stuff. And maybe throw in who are your favorite bets for today, because I've already told you a few of mine. Joe's giving you an incredible parlay. I think it's going to be a fun game, a slate of games. We have a whole day of real football, Joe. It is time to get into it, baby. It is time. Place your bets. Get your fantasy roster set up. Again, we're finishing 30 minutes before so that you have time to go and make those plays. Go and check it out on every daily fantasy option, Underdog, all that stuff. If you want to play on Underdog Fantasy or Price Picks and make your parlay bets, follow me at Big Poppy Brandon M. I will be posting how to do that, where to do that, sharing all my links to hopefully get you some bonuses as well for your first time playing. With that, shout out to my cousin Josh Vasquez in the stream. Happy birthday, brother. He said, Brandon's buying me a bucket. I sure will. If you want to come drink with your boy Big Poppy, you can find me down there by North Star Mall over there at McIntyre's. I'll be over there having some drinks and maybe going to Pluckers after for some wings. But I will see you guys shortly. Thank you for joining the Fantasy Gods. As always, we are always here to help you with fantasy. Welcome to the church. Until next time, this Wednesday, keep it locked to the Alamo City Podcast Network. Extra Point with the Fantasy Gods is coming to you. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful Sunday. Grab your barbacoa, grab your Big Red, grab your drinks. We'll see you next time. Peace.